And the question to Judge Heath is, as lawyers representing parties that have been sued, it can be quite difficult to accurately predict what a judge or jury will do in any given case, particularly those cases which involve severe injuries or sympathetic plaintiffs. Pursuant to North Carolina Rules of Civil Procedure 12, 50, and 56, the court is required to remove a case from the jury when justified by the law and the evidence, regardless of the consequences to the parties. But we find that many judges are reluctant to do so. Please state your philosophy about the appropriateness of such dispositive motions in civil litigation.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Heath, and I'll ask that you hold your applause till the end. Thank you. I'm a Superior Court judge out of Wake County. It is really good to be back here. I've spoken to this group before when I was chairman of the North Carolina Industrial Commission. My background is I married my college sweetheart, Kristen. She's also a lawyer. We've got a 4-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. We live in Wake County now, but we started out in Wilmington, where my wife grew up. And I worked at Hedrick Gardner doing all-you-can-eat workers' comp defense. I've sat in your seat. I was a member of this organization, and that's sort of the legal foundations of my career. Since that time, I was appointed by the governor to be the North Carolina Industrial Commission chairman. How many of you in this audience practice in workers' compensation? All right, usually there's a few more people here than that, but workers' compensation cases comprise a huge number of Court of Appeals cases every year. It's one of the biggest portions of cases that the Court of Appeals hears. And there are currently no judges on the Court of Appeals that have very much workers' comp experience. So it's very important that we get judges on there that have workers' comp experience. I served for 3 years as the chairman of the North Carolina Industrial Commission. That's a quasi-judicial role. I heard appeals of workers' compensation cases. There are 75,000 claims filed every year for workers' comp. I did a good job there in not only being a fair and impartial judge, but also taking an aggressive posture of reform with that agency. And while workers' comp rates have been going up and up for more than a decade, we leveled those off and reduced them. In fact, there's been double-digit reductions in workers' comp loss rates for 3 years running. In a $1.4 billion payout per year for workers' comp benefits, a 10% reduction is $140 million returned to the pockets of employers who are your clients. We did that in a way that did not disrupt the benefit structure to the injured workers. We appointed judges that were fair to both sides. And the governor recognized those reforms, and he appointed me to be the state budget director. That is a cabinet-level role for the governor of the 10th largest state in the country. I was in charge of advising the governor on economic and tax policy. North Carolina's economy is a $500 billion a year economy, so the advice that I was giving to the governor had huge impact. In fact, most people don't know this, but North Carolina's economy, if it were a country's economy, would be just a bit bigger than the country of Austria. So these are big decisions that we had to make, and the governor trusted me with those. I also defended the state's economic position before the credit rating agencies in day-long grilling sessions. That's Standard & Poor's, Fitch, and Moody's. And that had big statewide impact because the bond ratings that we had for our $2 billion Connect NC bond that funded educational programs all over the state would have been adversely affected if we did not maintain our AAA credit rating. So that's some of the high-level experience that I've had. I also was the secretary for the Council of State. I served to keep those meetings in order and prepare agendas and help determine matters of statewide importance for the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, and the other members of the Council of State. I served on the state's Economic Investment Committee. That is the body that evaluates and approves or denies economic incentive packages to businesses who wanted to expand or relocate to the state of North Carolina. In Governor McCrory's 4 years, 300,000 new jobs were created. That's like entire cities going online in terms of jobs and salaries. All 100 counties' unemployment rates went down. So that's some of the high-level experience that I have that my worthy opponent, having served stints of a few months here and there on our court system, just doesn't have. I've served in 33 of our state's 100 counties at the Superior Court level. With respect to the question before me about Rule 12, 50, and 56 motions, I'm a person and I have emotions. And some parties and litigants have sympathetic positions. And I'm not void of emotion, but if the law and the facts justify Rule 12 or 50 or 56 motions to be granted, I'd do just that. And I would urge you to speak with some of the members of this group, Heather Connor in Charlotte, who's had a jury trial before me, Barry Cobb, who's here, who appeared before me, P.K. Shear or Ginger Hunsucker at Cranfield, who had a month-long medical malpractice trial before me, Benton Toops, who had a 56 summary judgment before me. Please speak with your members. I think there's a clear decision here between the two candidates, and I respect what you all do, and I hope that you will see fit to endorse me for my race for Court of Appeals. Thank you very much.